Good morning. I'm Berks County Commissioner Christian Leinbach, and I want to welcome you to our Commissioners meeting for September the 14th. We're broadcasting live via Microsoft Teams live event, also on BCTV, as well as Facebook and YouTube Live. At this time, I'd like to open the meeting with a moment of silence, followed by a pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Today is one of the commissioners' meetings that I look forward to the most. It's when we celebrate folks in Berks County in recovery. Interestingly enough, and our COO pointed this out to me, I quickly checked and he's correct. Today is also National Sober Day. So September 14th is National Sober Day. We're celebrating Recovery Month, and we have the great opportunity to hear some of your stories. So I want to recognize Yvonne Stroman. She is the Community Program Specialist for COCA, the Council on Chemical Abuse. We're very pleased to have her here today, and she is going to introduce us to some of the people that are here to tell their story.
I want to make sure this is on. Good morning, everybody. So I'm Yvonne Stroman. Have the greatest job in the world as the Community Program Specialist at the Council on Chemical Abuse. This is National Recovery Month. National Recovery Month has been deemed in existence now for about 30 years from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration to raise awareness and educate the community at large about addiction treatment. That treatment is effective and that recovery is possible, even probable when there are supports in the community. I just have a couple of words before I introduce you to some other folks who want to share their experience, strength, and hope. We often hear about the tragedies and consequences associated with addiction and substance use disorders. This morning, I'm proud to say that we'll hear about the achievements and successes of those of us who are in long-term recovery. I myself came to Berks County over 33 years ago as a result of being actually conditioned here to come to Rosie Kearney Halfway House for 6 months to follow the guidelines of probation. So I am one of those folks that are proudly in long-term recovery of over 33 years, and it's one day at a time by the grace of God that I stand here before you this morning. And each year, as representatives of the recovery community to celebrate Recovery Month, we talk about wellness and we talk about wellbriety. And this journey is not traveled alone. Support is an integral staple to long-term recovery. It is a strong support that we receive from the community that makes this so special. And not only the community, but our Berks County commissioners. And so I just want to say thank you for your support in providing public dollars for treatment and recovery. Thank you for being present at our recovery events. Thank you for challenging other communities to do the same. Thank you for chairing meaningful coalitions such as the SOS Berks Coalition. And simply thank you for being steadfast leaders and doing what is right for the betterment of all of us. Because when we get well, ultimately Berks County community gets well. We have long-term recovery and jobs. We have less likely to be visiting emergency rooms. We are maintaining coming up and showing up for work each and every day, and we're just contributing citizens. We believe in service, and so oftentimes we are available doing volunteer work and community service to make our community stronger. We believe that the steadfastness and the support in the trenches that we have in our community is what makes Berks County County do so well. So we just want to say thank you. And with that said, it's not me alone that really is embracing this enjoyment of recovery and your thanks, but we have others that are behind me that also are going to come up and say thank you as well. I want to introduce Scott Althouse, who's the Executive Director of Easy Does It, and he'll introduce those that are going to be speaking before you this morning. Scott?
There's Scott. Thank you, Yvonne. Welcome, Scott. Like the shirt?
I wore it just for you, Mr. Chairman. Fly, Eagles, fly.
What's going to happen tonight?
Oh, I got a score 35-31 birds.
Okay, very good.
Okay. Yeah, good morning. I'm Scott Althouse. I'm Executive Director of Easy Does It. We are an organic organization that was born out of the 12-step community right here in Berks County over 30 years ago, and strongly supported by you all and our friends at the Council on Chemical Abuse. Every time we have someone come by our facility in Bern Township, or when I'm out in Harrisburg or anywhere else and talking about what EDI is and how we have such a strong relationship with our single county authority and with the county, people are envious and say, how can we get one of these in our community? So I think that speaks volumes of your support historically and the nice partnership between people in the 12-step community who had the foresight to put together an organization for housing and recovery support services and to garner the support of the county commissioners and the Council on Chemical Abuse. So thank you very much. I'd also like to take just a minute to introduce a few of our team members, who is then going to introduce you to one of our clients who will share their story with us today. Behind me, I have Amanda Burns, our Director of Operations, just to put a face to everybody. And we have Kim Carliance, our Marketing and Community Outreach. And we have David Filippini, one of our recovery support specialists. And David happens to be our longest tenured employee at EDI. And he's going to introduce to you one of our residents, Jesse Miller.
Thank you, Scott. I'd like to say thank you to the commissioners and the county for the funding that's provided for this very noble cause. Myself, I've worked with EDI for a long time now, and I'm really honored to be a member of the staff. We provide a vital outreach for the members of Berks County suffering with substance abuse and homelessness. I'm a Berks County native myself. I'm a person in long-term recovery. What that looks like for me is 12 and a half years of continuous sobriety. In my last year here, I've really gotten the sense of community. We are a community of people that collaborate and help one another, and by helping others, we help ourselves. So I have the privilege to introduce one of my clients. His name is Jesse Miller, and we've been working together since February, and he's going to tell you more about himself. He is a Pennsylvania resident.
Not that tall. I am Jesse Miller. I'm originally from Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania western side, home of the groundhog. Came to Berks County February 2022 through Pennsylvania Adult and Teen Challenge. I did a year. I didn't do a year. I stayed a year to build my relationship with my higher power, Jesus Christ. After I graduated Teen Challenge, I sought staying in this area. I reached out to EDI. EDI accepted me, and it's been a blessing ever since. With the funding, the classes, the groups that we have, the camaraderie that Easy Does It pulls together for us is just amazing. And being there, I belong to the Bridge Church up in Hamburg. I'm continuing my faith, this 12-step program, the principles, everything that you guys provided for us that's there. And I just reached out and support this program, support EDI Teen Challenge. I want to thank you guys for everything you've done for this community, for Berks County. I wish other counties in Pennsylvania do what you guys do. It's truly a blessing for what you do to the recovery community. and I can't describe it. But it's just, you guys do so much, and it's definitely appreciated by me. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse.
Thank you. And so one of the things that we know is that research tells us when individuals are engaged in counseling, intensive and outpatient services, and the longer that they're in counseling, the longer that they're in therapy, the greater the success of their outcomes. So we just want to thank you for our recovery houses. You've heard from Easy Does It. We're now going to talk about the YMCA. I have Gina Pina Garcia, who is their Director of Social Services. Gina, do you want to come and say good morning and introduce your residents?
Good morning, I'm Gina Pina Garcia. I'm here representing the YMCA. I'd like to first start off saying thank you to the commissioners for all the support that you give to our community regarding our recovery. I also like to say thank you to all the individuals that are here, along with the programs. We couldn't do it without BCC. We couldn't do it without EDI. A lot of people don't understand, especially at the YMCA. We have individuals that live where we work. We don't work where they live. They live where we work, which makes a difference because individuals come into the Y. Some of them come kicking and screaming because they're mandated to be there, and that's okay. We deal with them the best way we can, and we give them the support that they need. The positive things that come out is we meet them where they're at. We give them the tools that they need to work the road of recovery. We all know it's not an easy road. It's one day at a time. So with that, I'd also like to represent my staff and introduce and thank them for all the hard work that they do. The selflessness, the late nights, the motivation, the encouragement for the individuals that we serve at the Y. We couldn't do it without them, and the clients that we serve wouldn't be able to get to the places that they need without the dedication and motivation that they need. So with that, I'm going to introduce, we have two individuals here to represent the Y. I'm going to start with Kelly Holmes, and I also have Preston Zito, who will be speaking. Kelly?
Good morning. I'm Kelly Holmes. As Gina said, we come in kicking and screaming. I was one of those. I was very upset when I had to find out I had to live at the Y, but today I'm very grateful that I am where I am because I needed a structured environment because I was in a very toxic relationship for 17 years. And I was a 25-year relationship, but 17 of those 25 years I used with this person. And it took all the courage and strength I had to break it off. So now I am clean and sober and I feel so good. And I am proud to be me today. So I write poetry. So I am going to write a poem about myself and how I feel today. It's called Proud to Be Me. I'm grateful and honored to at this convention to speak. So I thought I'd impress you with my poetry technique. It's National Recovery Month and I'm proud to be clean. It's a whole different world. It's so calm and serene. As I stand before you, I have 219 days without any drugs because I surrounded myself with friends who give me hugs. I attend any meetings and have a sponsor who gives me advice. I stopped taking chances, no more rolling the dice. I never thought recovery would look so good on me, and now I know it does. I will remain drug-free. So thanks to Drug Treatment Court and the YMCA, I could never be more proud of me than I am today.
Hi, my name is Preston Zito, and I'm here on behalf of the YMCA, and I want to start by thanking the commissioners for everything that you do for the recovery group and the community for everybody that's in it. If you're not familiar, the YMCA stands for Young Men Christian Association, but to me, it stands for Young Man Conquering Adversity. For 23 years, my life has been unmanageable, unpredictable, destructive. I didn't take no authority from no one, and I was given a second chance by the YMCA to get myself back to the person that I was supposed to be many moons ago. I can't thank these people enough Mr. Edwin, Miss Mary, Miss Gina, Miss Jenna, everybody that's involved with the YMCA had gave me a second look on life that I so needed. I was facing big adversities, big hills. I didn't think I was worth anything. I didn't think that anybody cared about me. But these four individuals showed me a side that strangers care about people that come there. They've done nothing but help me, steered me in the right direction. I'm 9 months clean as of tomorrow. And that is the longest I've ever been clean in my entire life. And I owe these people the entire world. They have saved my life, because if I wasn't where I am today, I wouldn't be standing here in front of you. My heart just goes out to everybody in this recovery community. They have showed me unconditional love, support, guidance, and that there is a better way of life, and I do not have to live like that anymore. And I thank everybody that's in this room for this meeting, I guess you could say. I appreciate the commissioners for believing in the recovery community, because without you guys and without the people that are in the recovery community, we would have nothing. So thank you very much.
You know, in addition to recovery housing, we can't dismiss the work that we do. I call those boots on the ground, and those that are in the community, being at different places and spaces like the Hope Rescue Mission or Pennsylvania Counseling, delivering words of encouragement and hope. And so we do contract with Transformations to provide that outreach, where they're going into different designated places of the community to share their story. And so we have a representative from Transformations to kind of talk about his story, his journey, and how working together collaboratively through partnerships, we're making a difference.
Good morning. My name is Jose Sandoval. I'm representing Transformation. I do the podcast in Spanish to reach our Spanish community, share the stories. That way know they cannot feel they're alone up there. The story is a little close to me. 2006, I lost my brother-in-law. It's my wife right there. The first person died here in Berks County on opioid, fentanyl. Also, I got a cousin of mine, 90 days sober. What's the best part to support, family support? And right now, that's my passion, to help not only the community, also in the memory of my brother-in-law. Thank you, appreciate it, and volunteer. Thanks a lot for everything you guys give to us. Thank you.
I just wanted to check and make sure Berks Counseling Center housing is usually here. I know they've been busy, involved in different activities and events, but I want to make sure. I don't see Carol here, so I'm guessing they're not able to make it. Having said that, as we wrap up, I can't dismiss acknowledging folks that are in the offices in the background making things happen. And so Kathy Knoll is our executive director. And Kathy, if you wouldn't mind just waving. And then we also have Yamari Castro, who is our CFO, or Chief Financial Officer, in the back, hidden. He always stays behind the back, but I know day and night he's working to make a difference, is Dan Malloy from Task. He's the executive director. And he also has several of his staff who are recovery support specialists, and they're working alongside of many of these folks on their journey to recovery, making sure that they're connecting with community resources, making sure that they're getting to meetings, making sure that they have viable transportation to get to where they need to be. So, Steve, I don't know if you want to say anything, or Don. I love putting you guys on the spot. You know this. Or Jake, but you guys, if you would just wave and just let folks know that they're there. They're at the Rise Center talking and working with people hand in hand each and every day. So I just wanted to share with you this collaborative of individuals with long-term sobriety, giving back to what was given to us, because that's how it works, through service, through giving back, through extending the hand. And you've always been there to do that. I see Kevin Barnhart, who's no longer on a commissioner, but he's still working in the community and still making it happen. And it doesn't happen without you. And I just need you to know that there's over 200 years of long-term sobriety here in this room right now, celebrating each and every day. And thanking you from the bottom of our hearts for what you do. So thank you so much.
So Kathleen, we have to work on you. You sit in the back. Whenever we're in an event, you're hiding, and I was looking for you earlier. You need to be more like Stan and George before. They sat right up front. But Kathleen Knoll, she is the executive director of the Council on Chemical Abuse. She's doing a great job. Really appreciate your efforts. Those that shared this morning, thank you very much. I'm in my 16th year. I never get tired of this, but there's always something new. I think that this is the first time I've had someone give their presentation as a poem, and that was pretty powerful. It's very powerful. I also heard all of you say, you guys do so much. We're not doing the heavy lifting. The heavy lifting is being done by two groups of people. First, you. No one else can make the decision, it's time. I've got to do something. That's where it starts. No one here, no one at COCA or any other group, the YEDI, can make you change. It starts there. So Jesse, you said several times, you guys do so much. No, you ladies and gentlemen are the ones that start the ball rolling when you decide, I've had enough, I need help. Number two is not about us either. Number two is having people like EDI and COCA and Pennsylvania Adult and Teen Challenge there to reach down and grab hold of you and say, we're here. We're here. We're friends. We're here to help. We're here as a community. Again, I think Jesse referenced the idea of faith. The whole concept of redemption is about someone doing something for someone else who is totally incapable on their own. And in a small way, that idea of redemption is what this is about. Now, to people that are not engaged with the recovery community, they may look at this and some may say, you know what? It's just a bunch of government money going to a bunch of people that don't deserve it. I will tell you, one of the things that I've learned sitting here year after year and participating in events, it isn't that way at all. Number one, we are able in a small way to see the lives of people in our community fundamentally changed. And when a life is changed, and I know every one of you that spoke today will share this, it has a ripple effect. It is like a stone thrown into a pond. The ripples go out and you touch family and friends. In many cases, there are family that you've lost relationships with that you're able to get them back. Other times you can't get them back. But there is a ripple effect. It's not just about changing your life. It's about changing the people around you as they see a new Kelly, a new Jose, a new Preston, people that are fundamentally new. But it is also transformative to the community, even financially. This was alluded to. What happens when you're no longer showing up at the ER with an overdose? You're no longer in the criminal justice system, but instead you're part of the community. You maybe are now raising a family. You're working at a job. Folks, the numbers do work out. It is worth the investment to change lives, and it's worth the investment to fundamentally improve our community. It's not about us. It's about you. And it's about organizations that surround you with love and reach down and lift you up when maybe nobody else would. So thank you for what you do. Open it up to my colleagues.
I want to echo some of the words that Commissioner Leinbach said. It's not about us here, it's about us here, everyone, because everyone has to play a role. We can't do it alone. The organizations that provide these services can't do it alone. If you're in recovery, you can't do it alone. So it's not about one person or one organization or one group. It's about all of us working together. I also believe that it's about choices. Every day when you wake up, you make a choice as to what you're going to do, what your day is going to look like. There can be services, there can be funding, there can be people out there that want to help, but the choice has to come from you. You need to make that choice to say, I want to change. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm not going to let this drag me down. I always debate whether I share this story or I don't share this story, but I'll share a little bit about it today. Other people have heard about it before, but I would say, and Jesse back there, my dad went through Teen Challenge when Teen Challenge started. I'm talking about in the late 1960s. He lived in Puerto Rico. He was in and out of school. They threw him out of school when he was in 8th grade, in and out of jail, in gangs. This was down in Puerto Rico, lived in the projects. My grandmother was a stay-at-home mother. My grandfather was a government employee there. And one day my father, with other members of his gang, went to a dealer in the corner, stole from him. And then him and his gang were after my father and the others. And one day he made a choice. He said, I don't want this for my life anymore. I don't want to keep on living like this. And he got connected with Teen Challenge, flew from San Juan to New York, where he met with David Wilkerson. David Wilkerson picked him up at the airport and took him to Teen Challenge. And that's where he met my mother. My grandfather was a Mennonite pastor for many years. My grandfather would preach at Teen Challenge. My mother would play the piano there and lead service there at Teen Challenge, and that's how they met. So I literally say, had it not been for Teen Challenge, for people there that cared, I would not be here today. But he made that choice, but there were the organizations out there to help him, to support him, to get him through that. And that's why I say it's your choice, but people here are here to support you, but you have to make that choice. You have to want it for it to be able to happen, because guess what? You're here today, we're celebrating, but either today or tomorrow when you walk out of there, life is going to hit you. It's going to punch you. It's going to knock you down. And you have the choice to say, I'm going to stay here on the floor and feel sorry for myself, or I'm going to get up and I'm going to move forward, because it's my choice to move forward in life. It's my choice to not feel sorry for myself. It's my choice to change. It's my choice to stay in recovery. It's my choice to be able to be the person that I want to be. And you have these wonderful people here that work day in and day out to help you with that. So congratulations for being here today. Congratulations for what you've accomplished. Something I always say, share your story. You don't know who's next to you, who needs to hear what you have gone through, where you have been and where you are today. So share your story. Don't be afraid of it, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Rivera. Commissioner Sahelnik.
Thank you, commissioners. What an experience for me today as a new commissioner. I've heard about this meeting, and to be sitting in front of you, I'm humbled and inspired. You are thanking us, but I thank you profoundly from the bottom of my heart for being touched in your stories and what you've shared, and for those of you who are working tirelessly to support this community. I heard something I've never heard before, and that was wellbriety. And I love that. And I am going to try to continue to celebrate that because I think that's what we're doing here today, all of us together. One of my responsibilities, I think, as a leader in this community is to continue to educate myself. And I was doing that on Tuesday. I was able to go to a seminar that was held at Schlauch Incorporated by Barry and Deb Schlauch, who are members of our community. And it was Karen. And they were speaking and holding specifically something that was titled, What Every Business and Community Leader Needs to Know About the Mental Health Crisis. And why would I go to something like that? Because that's how it will help resonate in me to understand what it is and my responsibility to all of you and what I need to do. I want to share a very strong and impactful statistic that I learned on Tuesday. And you might already know this. But every 11 minutes, a person dies from suicide. And every 10 minutes, 2 people die from drug overdoses in the United States. So that means that since this meeting started, we've lost 2 people who have committed suicide and 4 people from drug overdoses. So I'd like you to join me in a moment of silence to recognize those people in our community that we've lost. And now I want you to take a moment of that reflection and place it in your heart and carry it with you, because today we are celebrating and carrying you in support of not being one of those victims and not being that statistic, but instead striving towards being the very best version of you. I have a 5-year-old, and every morning he takes the bus to school. And when I give him a kiss, because he still gives me a kiss, I say, make sure that today you are the very best version of you. And I'm going to ask you to do the same, because that's what I also am striving for towards every single day. And I think that in a community, when we celebrate well-briety, we're going to accomplish that together and be the best Berks Countyans that we can be. So thank you so much for sharing your stories today and being present and allowing me to be part of that journey with you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. I'm going to share my screen. There is an event coming up. It is Sober Stock. It's at EDI. It is on September the 30th, 2023, and runs from 12 to 3 p.m. It's a free event, and it's proof that you can have a great time with some great bands without alcohol and drugs. A great event. Where's Scott in the back? I'm going to try to make it. I think I had 3 events already on that day. I'm going to try to fit in, but I try to get by there every single year. If you want more information, go to easydoesitinc.org and you can click there on the events. But these are some of the bands and the DJ that's coming up. And then we have a lot of our partners are there with tables and information. So it's not just for the recovery community proper. The public can come out and help support this event and support people in recovery. Again, thank you to everyone that presented, and thank you to everyone that is here today to support your brothers and sisters in recovery. With that, we will continue with the agenda. Are there any additions or corrections for the September 7th meeting minutes? Hearing none, the minutes will stand approved as presented. We did have 2 executive sessions, one on September the 7th, dealing with security, one on September the 13th, dealing with personnel, security, and real estate. At this time, I'll recognize my executive assistant, Anne Marie Grill, to read the public comment policy.
Thank you, Commissioner Leinbach. Public comment will be accepted in person and through the Q&A function. Please include your first name, last name, and municipality for all comments. Any comments without name and municipality will not be considered. Each citizen can submit 1 comment. Comment length is dictated by limitations of the platform being used: Teams, Q&A, Facebook, and YouTube. In-person comments will be accepted first, followed by comments submitted virtually. The meeting comment period is limited to a total of 30 minutes, including both in-person and virtual comments. This time period may be extended at the discretion of the board. Please be concise.
Comments that are germane to county business will be read during the meeting and should not be considered to be interactive dialogue with the commissioners. The county solicitor shall be the final arbiter of whether a comment is germane and should be read. Any commissioner response to public comment will be done at the discretion of the commissioners.
Thank you very much, Anne Marie. Yvonne, I have one request. If you can get a copy of Kelly's poem, I would like to suggest to my colleagues that it be entered into the record for our meeting. I just thought that was fabulous. I saw her walking out. Are we okay with that? So we'll incorporate that in our minutes for today's meeting. Thank you. Public comment on the agenda items. Don, your item is on the agenda. It's item 308-2023. However, I'm going to give you a heads up. There's going to be a presentation from Brian Gottschall, Department of Emergency Services. I'll give you the option. You can make comments now, or you can wait, and I'll let you make comments after his presentation before we vote. You might want to hear what he has to say. Is that what you prefer? Okay. Try to make sure that comments on agenda items are most meaningful, and I think it'll be more helpful to you and to people listening to hear your comments after Brian explains the details behind that. Thank you very much, Don. And I didn't look, there's no public comment on agenda items online. Very good. Item 1, authorizing under that Budget Department, adopt a resolution authorizing 2023 appropriations in the amount of $86,326 per listing dated September the 8th of 2023. There are 2 items listed under Human Resources. Item 1, authorize the promotion of Timothy Bitcliffe from supervising attorney to first assistant public defender in the public defender's office. Item 2, authorize the transfer of Jill Willman from activity therapist to nursing administrative secretary, Berksheim. There's several items listed under the commissioners. Item A, adopt a resolution authorizing John Adams, district attorney, to execute criminal retainer agreements and fee schedules with Health Network Laboratories doing business as Forensic Pathology Associates concerning expert witness services. Item B, adopt a resolution authorizing the execution of the county assurance of financial commitment and participation for Children and Youth Services needs-based budget for fiscal year 2024-2025. Item C, adopt a resolution supporting the effort to secure passage of funding bill for the 911 system and urging the Pennsylvania General Assembly to reauthorize Chapter 53 of Title 35 of the Pennsylvania Consolidated Statutes with 911 surcharge increase to support next generation 911 system across the Commonwealth. At this time, I want to recognize Brian Gottschall. Brian is going to...
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present to the public this morning. As Commissioner Weinbach alluded, the intent of the presentation this morning is to ask the public for support. This is our version of calling the public at 911. We need the public to become involved and to reach out to their state legislators in order to encourage the reinstatement of the 911 of the portion of Title 35 that permits the levying of a 911 fee that supports the 911 system throughout Pennsylvania. And of course, in making this ask, we have an obligation to give the public some information so that they can make an informed decision about whether they do or don't support our view in this regard. So first of all, I just wanted to mention that in Berks County, the 911 center has services, but the Department of Emergency Services is broken up into a number of areas. And from a business perspective, we segregate those areas, even down to the point of divisions of people's salaries, the cost of space and energy, the portion of the leasehold that we work out of that is dedicated to the 911 center is paid for partially through these 911 fees. But the portion of the leasehold that is not dedicated to 911 and communications is not allocated to those fees. So we make a definitive effort to segment financially the various operations that we have under emergency services. But in the communications operations area, this is, of course, the county's 24/7, 365 public safety answering point. It doesn't matter if it's Christmas morning, 4th of July, or Labor Day afternoon, or Saturday at 2 o'clock in the morning. There are people here prepared to answer the calls for service that come from our community and send our local emergency responders to assist. We provide those services to in many cases, it depends on how you count these agencies. So the numbers are approximate, but it's 49 law enforcement agencies, 65 fire agencies, 14 EMS agencies, as well as numerous other local and county agencies that are served by our system. Obviously, we serve all 420,000 Berks County residents as well as visitors to our county. And in doing so, we field about 1,200 calls a day and 960 dispatches per day resulting from those calls in every 24-hour period on average throughout the year. And of course, those are not evenly distributed. There are minutes here where nothing is going on in the center. There's no radio transactions. There's no calls coming in. Generally, those are in the wee small hours of the morning, while other times, there's a major accident or a structure fire or thunderstorms rolling through the county, and it's pandemonium in the 911 communications center with a surge of incoming requests for assistance. We accomplish this through an average of 12 telecommunicators on duty as our assigned complement. And it's important to understand that not every one of those telecommunicators have a primary responsibility of answering 911 calls. At any given time, in addition to the supervisor that's working in the 911 center, there are 7 telecommunicators who are primarily tasked with handling radio transactions from the emergency responders in the community that are going out to handle these calls for service. In 2023, and these are projected, of course, based on year-to-date through 8/30, we anticipate that we're going to field 185,000 911 calls, 241,000 10-digit calls, approximately 500 text messages to 911 that are going to result in over 250,000 law enforcement dispatches and almost 100,000 fire and EMS dispatches. We do this under 911 call taking standards that require us to answer 90% of those 911 calls in under 15 seconds and 95% in under 20 seconds. So, this is a significant workload in county government. This is not a small operation, but I feel that we do this with a great deal of efficiency and with limited resources in the department. So we get to the concept of funding, which is really what we're talking about today, and it's important to help everyone to understand how 911 is funded in Berks County. And it is approximately 60% through the state fee revenues that we're here talking about this morning, approximately 15% through county general tax revenues. And it's very important to understand that beyond 2022, any inflationary growth or capital costs get added into that number. So this is a generically recurring percentage, but any spikes in costs that result from inflationary growth or capital costs are also borne by the county. And then about 25% in rental of space and invoicing for services. And rental of space is a very small number. The vast majority of that 25% is invoicing for services primarily to our local government entities for whom we provide emergency communication services. The bottom line is that regardless of how you divvy that out, 40% of the operation of 911 in Berks County is funded by real estate taxes that are derived from within Berks County, whether they're at the county or local level. So in 2015, Act 12 of 2015 set a fee at $1.65 per device that's capable of contacting 911. There are other considerations that get into detail that I don't think are really important here for like large multi-line phone systems like you'd have at a large business or even an institution like county government that actually reduces the cost per line on those types of users. At that time, the 911 community did ask for a higher rate. We also asked for the incorporation of inflationary escalators, and neither of those concepts were able to be passed through the legislature. So what that has resulted in is no change in the funding rate in the last 8 years. So that $1.65 per device is what was being received at the Commonwealth level. And it's important to realize that's not a $1.65 per device that comes to the county. It's a $1.65 per device that goes to the Commonwealth and is then distributed, as I'm going to mention in a moment here. That number has not changed in the last 8 years, and that law that permits the collection of that fee at the Commonwealth level sunsets in January of 2024. So for folks that don't follow legislation, very simply, what sunsets means is that if there is no action, the fee goes away. The state and the counties are denied all the revenues that are generated through that fee and need to either stop providing the services or in some other way stop the cost from being generated or find another means to cover those costs. So I mentioned that this $1.65 per device is collected at the state. The legislation describes that the $1.65 then is divided out. PEMA keeps 2% of it. 15% is used for interconnectivity throughout the Commonwealth. 3% is divided equally among all public safety answering points, irrespective of their size or the community they serve. And then the remaining 80% is divvied out through a formula that is established by PEMA. And that formula is, of course, the largest amount that we in Berks, that any county receives in from these fees. So I want to talk a little bit about Berks County and the history of what our expenses have been, what our formula collections have been, and I've shown it on this slide. You can see that there are fluctuations in our annual expenses, and those are largely driven by periodic capital projects. For example, the actual computer infrastructure that is the 911 phone system has approximately a 5-year lifespan. So every 5 years, we're having to replace that very expensive gear as it becomes end of life. That's an example of a fluctuation in capital expenses. And the other large fluctuation is as a result of debt service on bonds that primarily were used to finance the county public safety radio system. I can't explain this. I'm sure our CFO Bob Patrizio could, but there's value to the county in how those bonds were taken out and paid back that create, I believe it's referred to as balloon payments that cause those numbers to go up and down in any given year. So that's why you see what look like very odd fluctuations in expenditures. But what you will notice is that irrespective of those expenditures, the formula revenue that we are collecting from the state remains very flat throughout this period of time. And that, of course, then results in differences in the amount of our total expenditures that are covered by these fees. And what you can see is that the number, I used a number of approximately 60%, but it varies from year to year. And of course, as our expenses go up every year and the fee does not go up every year, that means that a larger percentage or a smaller percentage of our expenditures are covered by that fee. So this is a look at the historic numbers from 2014 through 2021. And the other one showed kind of a summary that encapsulated just the last few years, but I wanted to be able to show by percentage in the right-hand column in each of the years since 2014, what percentage of our expenditures have been covered by those fees collected through PEMA. And again, as I mentioned, it averages out to about 65%. It's important that our constituents understand what the playing field today is in Harrisburg. And first of all, it's important that no one is openly suggesting that the fee be eliminated. The problem is that a lack of consensus about how to renew it does risk that outcome. In other words, if nothing is done, if consensus can't be achieved and something is not affirmatively accomplished, the fee does end in January of 2024. The governor has proposed a $1.97 fee with a CPI-based increase in out years. And this was part of the governor's budget package that was proposed and ultimately adopted, but this piece of it was not adopted as part of that budget package. So that left us now looking to somehow resolve this problem as a standalone matter, not as part of the bigger state budget package. The County Commissioners Association of Pennsylvania has proposed a $2.30 fee with 15% annual increases, which equates to around 6 or 7% per year increase.
15 cents. No. not 15%.
Yes, I'm sorry. Did I say percent? I meant to say 15 cents annual increases, which equates to around 6 or 7% annual increase in the fee. Thank you for correcting me. Some key legislators, and I say key legislators, of course, we all know that each of them have only one vote, but because of their tenure and their position that they hold, like in committee chairmanships and things like that, they end up having a larger voice in the matter. And some key legislators have suggested that the fee be reaffirmed at the current $1.65 with, again, no increase. No out-year escalators, and have effectively characterized that any increase is a tax increase, which they innately oppose. As a taxpayer, I too oppose tax increases, but I also recognize that government has to do its business. And while we try to find efficiencies and try to find ways to control those costs, and I think in Berks County we do that very well, we also recognize that people's wages go up, the cost of energy goes up, the cost of rent goes up. Everything we do gets more expensive in out years. And unless we can find offsetting savings, that means that the cost of delivering those services go up. So, the what if question, what if the fee is not reaffirmed? If the fee is not reaffirmed, that means that in Berks County, $8.65 million annually needs to be generated from increased county real estate taxes. In essence, as of the end of January, we need a way to make up $8.65 million in revenue that we will effectively lose. And what that means from a practical end is that the county tax rate has to go from 7.657 mils to 8.177 mils, which is an increase of $46 for every $100,000 of assessed valuation on property. And that, I want to be very emphatic, is just to make up the revenue that is being generated at the $1.65 fee. It doesn't make up the revenue that would be generated were that fee to be increased to more accurately reflect the cost of delivery of these services that has gone up over the last 8 years. No one is suggesting that there should not be local skin in the game. I honestly have not even heard anyone in the 911 community say that this fee should support 100% of the delivery of these services. Everyone recognizes that local skin is important because it helps us to keep high and tight and to provide the service in as efficient as way as we can because someone else isn't paying the bill. The CCAP proposal, as discussed, maintains an approximately 35% cost share out through 2028. So the ask to our taxpayers in Berks County is to reach out to their legislators and endorse the reauthorization of the fee at the $2.30 per device that CCAP has recommended, and to include a reasonable inflationary escalator, and to not include the formula distribution in the legislation. This is an important piece that gets beyond the money. There's some discussion about making the division of these dollars, how PEMA divvies out the pie, baked into the legislation. That is problematic because it doesn't allow for PEMA and the 911 community to make changes in that distribution as we see that issues arise or the distribution becomes inequitable. It's important to leave the distribution in the hands of the professionals that are providing the service and allow us to come up with that distribution and tweak that as necessary in out years. And finally, we're asking our local legislators to ensure that we're compelling the local addressing authorities to work with counties in addressing needs as they relate to compliance and timing. These are really important concepts that come to light as a result of the move to Next Gen 911 and the importance that timely updates to addressing will have in ensuring that 911 calls are properly delivered to the right PSAP. So we're looking for you to reach out to your state senators and representatives. And just to be very emphatic, we're not talking about our U.S. senators and representatives in Washington. We're talking about our state senators and representatives in Harrisburg. I've listed who they are here on the slide. The very easy way for anybody that's willing to help to do this is to simply use a search engine and Google, as we call it, or search for PA Find My Legislator. You'll be able to enter your address and it will tell you who your senator and representative are. But we're also asking for folks to go a little bit beyond that. Instead of just reaching out to the people who they normally might talk to, we'd also like them to look at the members of both the PA House and Senate Veterans Affairs and Emergency Preparedness Committees. These are really the first line of folks that we need to get on board to make sure that this legislation is able to move forward. And although that's a little unusual to reach out to legislators who are not your quote unquote legislators, it is a very important component here, particularly right now in the PA Senate. So Commissioner, that's the end of my presentation. I would be open to any questions that you or the public might have.
Sure. Thank you very much. Just one thing I would add, Brian, the 911 legislation originally was adopted somewhere around 1991, 92, and it was intended to provide 100% funding for 911 operations. That was great at the time, but just as you talked about in 2015, that it was never tied to CPI, it was a flat fee. It never changed until I think early 2000s. It was an addition of going from landlines to cell phones. But the first real fundamental rewrite was 2012, and that was where we got the $1.65. Again, it wasn't what we asked for at that point in time. We were trying to take the original rate and just index it to inflation. And my argument has always been, if that was the right number in 1991 to properly fund 911, then index it to inflation, and that should be the right number going forward. This is vitally important. We look at what happened on July the 9th, the numbers, and earlier, Brian, you referenced the call volume in a day. You had call volume within a couple of hours that far exceeded probably a couple of days of calls. We look at the events that just occurred in Chester County. One of the things people aren't readily aware of, but they utilized something called reverse 911 in Chester County. Most people have no idea what that is, but that was the ability of their 911 center to send a warning message out to communities where the escapee was believed to be. 911, I assure you, and Brian will know even more than anyone here, was very important to that overall effort. This is a public safety issue, and we believe we didn't set the system up. We're not the ones that decided this is how it should be funded, but a mandated system in front of us that year after year, the legislature and the governor, and this is multiple legislatures and multiple administrations, seem comfortable having county and municipal taxpayers pay more in their property tax as they effectively fund less and less. And quite frankly, we've had, I'm not going to name any names, but we've had some politicians in Berks County play politics with this 911 issue. This is something that has to be funded properly. And I'm going to ask Brian to address one issue. You talked about it, but put a point on it. There is no double taxation of Berks County taxpayers when it comes to 911. There's a fee that's being paid by our municipalities. You have it in that one slide, and that's what gets us to the approximately 40% of payment for the system in Berks County by Berks County taxpayers. Could you just touch on that? Why there's no double taxation and how that is paid?
Yes. So, listen, I think, Commissioner, we need to be very honest in saying that the way this is done in Berks County is somewhat unusual throughout the Commonwealth. I've actually had my counterparts in other counties call me and say, hey, we understand you're doing this. Can you explain to us how you're doing it? And my advice to them is always starts out by saying, you'll never make it happen. For the same reason that we can't unravel it here in Berks County, you're never going to be able to implement it in your county. And it really goes back to when 911 was implemented in Berks County in the late 80s, early 90s. And the system started out with an agreement amongst the counties and the local governments that the county would pay for the 911 call taking piece of the pie using these state revenues, but the radio dispatching and the communications with the emergency services would be paid for by the local governments. Respecting the fact that state law says that the delivery of emergency services is a local responsibility, and the ability of those local emergency services to be dispatched and subsequently communicate with each other is part of the delivery of those services. How I feel about this personally, even how any individual commissioner feels about it personally, is really of no consequence. It's the system that has been in place since day one. And what it has resulted in is the county expecting, for lack of a better term, over $3.5 million in revenue to be derived from billing to our local governments. I certainly don't want to put words in any of the sitting commissioners' mouths, but I've heard it said previously that if the county could increase county property taxes to raise that $3.5+ million annually, and be assured that the local property taxes in each jurisdiction would be subsequently decreased in a proportionate way, so that in effect, the net difference to the county taxpayer would be zero. Your county taxes would go up, your local taxes would go down, that they would not be averse to agreeing to ending that invoicing for services. The reality is that we have no way to ensure that's going to happen, and that the likely outcome is going to be that the county would cease billing the local governments, would increase county taxes significantly to realize that additional revenue to make up for it, and the local governments would not lower their property taxes, but would find other needs to spend that newfound money on. And that results in a net significant increase to all county taxpayers. That is my understanding as to why the county has been averse to changing the system that has existed for approaching 30 years now. And so, yes, Commissioner, there is not double dipping or double taxation. There is merely which pocket the expense is being paid out of, the county pocket or the local pocket. And I think it's very reasonable for people to have an opinion about which pocket it should be out of. The problem is finding a means moving forward to make it come out of the one pocket or the other that doesn't result in an overall tax increase to the county taxpayers.
Very well said, Brian. The one thing I will add, several years ago, we made one other change, and you also alluded to this. When I first took office, we had a system in place where every year we were increasing, had a percentage increase in the amount each municipality was paying. And I don't know if it was 3 years ago, somewhere in there, we made the determination, look, have the municipalities continue to pay what they're paying right now, flat. It's never going to go up. Any increased cost, it will come from the county. And we did that because that way we can protect. They're paying what they're paying, and any increases the county will pay. So that's why they're going forward. There are no increases in billing to municipalities. Brian?
So, Commissioner, just to draw a finer point on that, to make sure that we're giving 100% accurate information, yes, as you illustrate, the original agreements that existed with the municipalities that went back almost 30 years, as I said, in essence, allowed the commissioners to set the rate in every year. So, theoretically, the commissioners could have implemented a 100% increase year over year over year with no real justification required. Not that that has ever been done by this board, the prior board, or any board before that. The increases that were levied were always levied with strong consideration and justification to the real costs. But it was, frankly, a somewhat unfair system to our local governments. They didn't know what they were going to be signing, and the prior board that authorized this had the wisdom to see that that was not reasonable and not acceptable and put in place this fixed rate fee. And I just want to be emphatic. You had said that there are no increases ever applied. There are no discretionary increases ever applied. The contract says that the amount will increase only by CPI percentage. Whatever is established as the CPI for that year is what the increase is in the following year. And that allows our local governments, like they do with many other expenses, to be able to reasonably plan on what they believe market conditions are going to be. If, however, the commissioners decide that they are going to authorize some enormous expenditure of money, you're going to make my salary $500,000 a year, hint, hint, hint. That doesn't get passed on to the local governments. That is entirely a county expenditure. So that's where any, my slide indicated that beyond 2022, any new operational or capital costs beyond inflationary growth become a county obligation.
Yep, absolutely. Very good job, Brian. Before I turn to Don, Commissioner Rivera Sahelnik, any comments?
I just want to reiterate some points here, but I look at it from this is a needed public service. It's a safety issue for our community. As costs rise, salaries rise, leases rise, everything rises. It has to be paid for one way or the other. So if the legislature, the governor do not reauthorize this, that money, like Brian said, will be paid for by the county, and that will be paid for by property tax increases. If the amount that, if they do reauthorize it, but an amount that is not adequate for funding, then it will also fall on the county taxpayers as well. Why I am in favor of this surcharge here is because it divides it among everyone who has a telephone versus not just putting that burden on the homeowners here in Berks County.
Well, I just think, those of you who are watching or catching up, it's a lot of information, but I think really to break it down is that we cannot wait until 2024 and allow the fee to end. And so really reach out. I have spoken with Senator Schwenk on this issue. Reach out to your local delegates and let them know your opinion. That is where the power lies to ensure that we have the funding and continued funding that we need. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I will recognize any comments? Yeah, if you have to step up to the microphone, we'll give you your 3 minutes. Don Stark, Center Township 911 funding, and I'm doing this because the agenda comment is designed to allow the public to comment before we vote. And we want to hear what you have to say. So go ahead, Don, 3 minutes.
My real question was, where was the update? So I appreciate his all that information that he gave. Although I just was wondering if he was requesting a salary decrease.
Well, that's what he ended up requesting. He doesn't realize it.
I'm very sorry. But thank you for doing this. This is very illuminating. And yes, we definitely need the state legislature to step up. And I appreciate, and I think the whole county appreciates your efforts to, get the state to step up and do the right thing.
Thank you very much, Don. Appreciate that. And to those watching, this is highly unusual that we would do this, but this is a critically important issue. It's largely misunderstood by the general public, and we want to make sure the facts are out there. So moving on with the agenda, item D, adopt a resolution authorizing Christine Sadler, solicitor, to execute the engagement letter with Kilkenny Law, LLC, to provide legal services for Berks County Children and Youth Services. Item E, adopt a resolution authorizing the chair to execute the business associate agreement between Berks County and Eckert Siemens, Sharon and Mallet LLC, governing the share of health information between the parties. Item F, adopt a resolution authorizing Christine Sadler to execute the waiver of conflict of interest letter for Stevens and Lee related to the Reading Hospital real estate tax assessment appeal. Item G, adopt a resolution authorizing the chair to execute the State Food Purchase Program expense and data report for fiscal year 2022-2023 for Helping Harvest Fresh Food Bank. Item H, adopt a resolution announcing at this time, in accordance with the upcoming election, during which a new Board of Commissioners shall be duly elected on November 7th, 2023, and seated in 2024, and whereas there may be continuing discussions on the subject, no formal action will be taken in regard to the Public Health Services study that was conducted by Health Management Associates, Inc., nor will there be consideration of the recommendations or next steps for the remainder of the 2023, and I just lost my thing here, the remainder of the 2023 in deference to the above referenced newly elected board. Item 2, a motion to authorize execution of contract agreements and amendments as set forth on the contract agenda listing dated September the 11th of 2023. There are a total of 8 contracts, 1 with the Berksheim, 2 with Career Link, 1 with Children and Youth Services, 3 jointly with Children and Youth Services and Juvenile Probation, and 1 with Human Resources. And item 3, a motion to authorize execution of the payments and electronic transfers for the week ending September the 14th of 2023.
Motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion is carried. We'll move now to reports of treasurer and controller. Sitting in for our acting treasurer, we have the deputy treasurer, Linda Weaver. Linda.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We have an opening balance of $246,642,373.17. We have a balance to clear of $3,773,243.42, leaving us with a balance of $242,869,129.75.
Thank you very much. And we'll move now to the controller's office and our county controller, Sandy Graffius.
Okay, gentlemen and ladies, here we go. Total accounts payable, $12,033,043.49. We had a payroll this week of $4,940,678.05 for a grand total of $16,973,721.54.
Thank you very much, Sandy. Moving now to our Chief Operations Officer, Kevin Barnard. He has nothing. So with that, we'll move to Commissioners' reports, beginning with Commissioner Michael Rivera.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Linebaugh. I'm just pulling up my notes here. I have a few items and I will be brief due to the time. 2 things. One is there is the Twilight Farm Tour, which is put on by our Department of Agriculture. This will be held this coming Tuesday from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Berry Farm and Orchard at 86 Mosellum Church Road in Kutztown. There will be an orchard walk and a food preservation presentation, as well as free ice cream. So if you have some time on Tuesday, please drop by and enjoy this great experience. So thank you to our Berks County Ag Department, Penn State Extension, and the Berry Farm for opening up their doors to us. The other item I have is also on Tuesday, but from 3 to 5:30 p.m. There is a Hope mural rededication. And what they did was they installed a overnight lighting so that people can see it overnight. And this is located at the Mosaic House Clubhouse on Cherry Street, their parking lot, which is behind the building. There's parking at 31 South 5th Street. There will be free parking there. And this rededication will be Tuesday, starting at 3:30 and going until 5 p.m. But the ceremony will start closer till 3:30. So if you are in the area, please come out. We were talking about hope this morning and the presentations that we have, and this is a great way to continue to celebrate hope. So again, that's on Tuesday, 3:30 to 5 p.m. And one last item, tomorrow starts Hispanic Heritage Month, which runs from August 15th to September 15th. There are different events going on, so just want to congratulations to all those celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month. And Barbara and Lynn are trying to say something to me. I'm sorry, thank you. September 15th to October 15th. Thank you for that correction. Oh, and one more thing. Happy birthday to Lynn. It is her birthday today.
Are we going to sing?
Well, yeah, let's sing. Okay.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Lynn. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday.
And actually, Commissioner Sahelnik brought her a pretty nice gift, which we asked Commissioner Sahelnik to wear today, but she did not want to. So maybe Lynn.
Was that the rhinestone cowgirl hat?
That was.
That's all that.
Rhinestone cowgirl hat with a.
And you think I'm joking
on it?
It would make the rhinestone cowboy embarrassed that he was so plain.
That's right.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Commissioner Sahelnik.
Well, thank you, commissioners, because Lynn told me I was not allowed to do that. And as any
Well,
good
she didn't tell me that.
That's right. That's right. So thank you. You know, we're celebrating a lot of things today, and I'm so glad that we were able to recognize National Recovery Month in the beginning of this meeting. And if you missed that, I want to reiterate some statistics that I shared because they are powerful and they need to bring impact and awareness to why we celebrate National Recovery Month and why it is critical to be a community of well-briety, which Yvonne shared earlier. So since this meeting has started, I'm going to go back to that same statistic. 6 people in Berks County have died from suicide, and 12 people have died from drug overdoses. And that's startling. So I've been watching the clock, and I'm not going to forget that statistic.
Over the United
I'm sorry, the United States, yes. And I want you to keep that in mind as you walk through this month and every single day thereafter, to be a supportive community that embraces and uplifts those who are experiencing that journey, their friends and family members. So that is serious, and it's just going to get a little bit lighter. So I know that we have been worried and following the escapee and convict that has eluded so many, and we were very, very happy with the celebration of the capture yesterday. But I want to show you someone who I want you to recognize here. So I want you to recognize Yoda. Yoda was from the unit, and Yoda is here a Belgian Malinois, and I hope I said that correctly. And he was really part of the team that apprehended the fugitive from Chester County, and he's a member of the U.S. Customs Border Patrol from El Paso. So as we were working and listening to our colleagues from Chester County and the calls from the governor's office, we're worried and trying to create a protective environment. But I just wanted to give a moment of accolade to this handsome pup right here for apprehending that fugitive. And in addition, where I always end it, is our Parks and Rec system, right? So I found and discovered this lovely video, and I hope that it'll stroll through. So I usually direct you to our Berks County Parks and Recs URL and on our website. This is a story map, which I think is really critical. So a little bit different than taking you to the actual items and events that are occurring. I wanted to show you this today. So here you can see the highlights of all of our parks that are owned by the County of Berks. This is a wonderful time of year to get involved. And, we have so many. Take a moment to look here. We've got, let's see, Allegheny Aqueduct. We've got Antietam Lake and Angora Fruit Farm, Tulpehocken Creek, the Heritage Center, the leisure area, the Grings Mill Rec area, the Red Bridge, Stone Cliff, Union Canal Bicycle and Walking Trail, and the Locks. Here's a nice little map at the bottom. So please make sure to take a moment when you're deciding what you want to do and enjoy our wonderful park system that Berks County has to offer. And in addition, I want to thank our COO for the note. We do have a Master Gardeners plant sale that is coming up, and it is this weekend. I highly recommend going to this because not only do they have cool plants, and not only do they emphasize natives, they also educate you. And so if you have questions, go and talk to our Master Gardeners, phenomenal people from our community. I know some of them, they have a plethora of knowledge to bring to you. So at the Ag Center, Friday, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. is our Master Gardeners plant sale. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Sahelnick. Two items. One, this morning, the commissioners had the opportunity to give a welcome at the annual Greater Reading Chamber Alliance Manufacturing Summit. It's being held at the Miller Center at the Reading Area Community College. And when we left, there was a presentation on AI and manufacturing. Very fascinating. I'm not going to quote the lady exactly right, but she made the point, it's not just, hey, let's add a little bit of AI to our manufacturing. She said that's kind of like having a bunch of chemicals and say, I'm going to add a new chemical to it. You have no idea what's going to happen. Maybe nothing, and maybe you'll blow things up. She was talking about the very practical use of AI. In the welcome, I highlighted a couple of things I just want to quickly highlight here. One, the number 31,200. There are 31,200 manufacturing jobs in Berks County today. It is our largest sector by jobs, and it is significant. A lot of people may look at that and say, wow, okay, we've arrived there. Let's work at some other areas. I look at it and say, let's keep growing manufacturing in Berks County. Let me give you two more percentages. One is 3.6 and the other is 5.5. The latest unemployment numbers for Berks County are 3.6. That's for the entire county. The city of Reading is 5.5%. Now, why do I point out the difference? Because it points to opportunity. When you look at the city of Reading and the surrounding communities, there are a number of brownfield sites that continue to go vacant, unutilized. They are perfect sites for manufacturing. But one of the challenges is that government often, through its regulatory environment, makes it too difficult. And what I outlined is the County of Berks, through our planning department, through the Berks County Redevelopment Authority, through the Berks County Industrial Development Authority, and through our economic development organization, one being Pamela Shupp-Mennett, our Director of Community and Economic Development, in partnership with the Greater Reading Chamber Alliance, we are here ready to work with municipalities and private businesses to address some of these challenges. The IDA is working in early stages of a property in the city of Reading right now, but we really need to understand that if we want to grow manufacturing and the related industries, we've got to look at the roadblocks, and sometimes those roadblocks come from county or local government. The county's saying it's not going to be us, and we're here to help our municipalities. We can't tell municipalities what to do, but we can be there as a support. The last thing I want to touch on, back on July the 9th, and today is 911 Brian Gottschall Day. I'm going to share my screen, but in July the 9th, we had a horrific flooding event in certain parts of the county. And there have been a number of questions from people asking, where are we in a federal declaration? Well, a letter has gone out, and I'm going to read it, but it's gone out to Senator Casey, Senator Fetterman, Congresswoman Dean, Congresswoman Houlihan, and Congressman Muser. And this will help you get a better idea of what the county is doing to press for an answer. Dear Senator Fetterman, I'm writing you today in my capacity as the Emergency Management Coordinator of Berks County, Pennsylvania, to ask your assistance in facilitating a response from the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, and the Biden administration regarding the request for a major disaster declaration made by Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro subsequent to flooding in Berks County, PA on July the 8th of 2023. This request was forwarded to FEMA in the first week of August. The request included both individual and public assistance. To date, no response has been received. In the IA area, the impacted residents of Berks County, many of whom are of limited means, largely lacked insurance against this hazard, as the event was somewhat unconventional flooding resulting from torrential rains in a very localized area. This has left many with needs related to home, personal property, and vehicles. In the PA, the greatest loss was experienced by the smallest and least financially capable school district in our county. Antietam School District experienced flooding of its senior junior high administration building. Water multiple feet deep poured in through the first floor of the building and into its basement, where the building mechanicals were primarily located. Losses just in this structure are approaching $20 million. While we believe we have demonstrated significant and unusual losses beyond the reasonable expectation of the local community to address, and while we remain hopeful that FEMA will concur that necessary thresholds have been crossed to secure federal assistance, even a response that assistance is not forthcoming would be appreciated. This would set expectations for those impacted, but could also potentially open the doors for other programs that we might be able to access to support this recovery. I appreciate your advocacy for Berks County at the time of the request, and I further appreciate your consideration of my request for your advocacy in trying to move the process forward. I hope that your influence will bring this matter the attention it deserves. Please feel free to contact me should you require any further information. Sincerely, Brian Gottschall, MPA CEM. And before somebody says, why did you choose the Fetterman letter? It's because it was the letter that was sent to me this morning. I don't have the letter to anybody else, so there was no choice. It was a matter of I'm sharing a letter, but this exact same letter has gone to our entire federal delegation, and to the people that have been impacted and the Antietam School District and the students, rest assured the county is doing everything that it possibly can to apply pressure to get answers from the federal government. So this issue is in the hands of the federal government. If you're interested, feel free to reach out to Congresswoman Houlihan, Congresswoman Dean, Congressman Muser, as well as Senators Fetterman and Casey. Yes, you may.
I just want to take an extra moment to thank Brian Gottschall because he really has been steadfast in representing the county and the county support to our community from day one through this entire process. So again, thank you to Brian for that.
Very well said, Commissioner Sahelnick. Any comments from row officers? And I see I'm sharing my entire screen. Fortunately, there's not anything unacceptable on my screen. I will unshare. Not that there ever is, but hearing no comment from the row officers, there's no public comment online, no public comment in person. So that brings us to the end of our meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
The meeting stands adjourned.